Hey guys, tonight we're stepping aboard the RMS Titanic. But not through the entrance you've seen in movies. Not past photographers and waving crowds. Tonight, you're walking up a narrow gangway at the stern, clutching a battered suitcase. You're in third class, and the ship looks different from down here. The queue moves slowly. You shift your weight from foot to foot, feeling the rough wool of your coat against your neck. Someone behind you speaks rapidly in Italian. A child cries somewhere ahead. The air smells like coal smoke and salt water, and hundreds of unwashed bodies press close together. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing you're out there, wherever you are. The gangway creaks under the weight of so many feet. You can see the metal hull up close now. Rivets like endless rows of industrial stitches holding back the Atlantic. Third-class passengers boarded at Southampton through a different door than first class. Literally, while millionaires entered through the main doors on B and C decks, you're funneled through entrances near the waterline. The symbolism isn't subtle. A steward checks your ticket with barely a glance. His uniform is clean, but not ornate. He points you toward a doorway and moves on to the next person. No welcome speech for you. Inside, the corridor is narrow. Your shoulders nearly brush both walls. The ceiling hangs low enough that tall men have to duck slightly. Everything is painted white, but it's a functional white, the kind meant to reflect light in dim spaces, not to impress. You follow the flow of people deeper into the ship. The floors are bare metal, already scuffed and dirty from thousands of footsteps. You pass through doorways with raised thresholds, designed to contain flooding, though no one tells you that. Here's something peculiar. Third-class passengers had to undergo health inspections before boarding that first-class passengers didn't face. Officials checked your scalp for lice, examined your eyes, poked and prodded to ensure you wouldn't be turned away at Ellis Island. Even before you boarded, the division was clear. You're healthy enough to work. That's what matters. The crowd moves as one organism through the passages. A woman ahead of you carries a baby wrapped in layers of shawls. A man struggles with a trunk that's too large for these corridors. Someone's foot catches yours, and you stumble slightly. No one apologizes. There's no room for pleasantries here. The ship's engine hum is already present, a low vibration you feel through your feet. It's constant, unceasing, like the heartbeat of some enormous sleeping creature. You're walking through its belly. The lighting comes from electrobulbs spaced far apart, creating pools of yellow light separated by shadow. It's 1912, and electricity is still relatively new. You've probably never had it in your home, but here it is, making this metal maze navigable. Historians still debate exactly how many third-class passengers were aboard. Records conflict, names are misspelled, some tickets covered multiple family members. The best estimates put it around 709 people, more than first and second class combined. All of you down here below the waterline. You notice the smell changing as you go deeper. Less fresh air, more oil and metal, and the particular mustiness of spaces that never quite dry. A hint of cooking, cabbage, maybe in boiled potatoes. Basic fuel for basic passengers. The walls occasionally show exposed pipes running overhead. Everything is painted the same industrial white. The ship feels less like a luxury liner from down here and more like a factory. A factory that happens to float. You're still finding your way, following others who seem equally lost. The Titanic is enormous. Even just the third-class section is a labyrinth. You pass a communal bathroom. The door open reveals white porcelain and tile, surprisingly clean. Actual flush toilets. For many passengers, this is their first encounter with modern plumbing. More advanced than anything they had in their villages. The thought is both exciting and disorienting. What other impossibilities await in America? A baby's cry echoes off the metal walls, amplified and strange. You're surrounded by hope and fear in equal measure. Every person here has sold something, left someone, burned a bridge to buy passage. You're all running towards something, or away from it. But the worst was still to come. Not yet, though. For now, you're just trying to find your assigned berth. The number on your ticket corresponds to some room you haven't seen yet. The crowd is thinning as people peel off into different sections. You can hear the ocean now, a muted rushing against the hull. Just on the other side of that metal, thousands of feet of black water. You push the thought away. The ship is unsinkable. Everyone says so. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You finally locate your section. The number on the door matches your ticket. Small victory. Inside, the room is smaller than you expected. Much smaller. Bunks line the walls in tiers. 2 high, sometimes 3. Metal frames with thin mattresses. Rough wool blankets folded at the foot of each. The ceiling is so low you could touch it without stretching. White paint everywhere, chipped in places to reveal older layers beneath. This is home now. For the next week, anyway. Other passengers are already here, unpacking, claiming spaces. A man nods at you without smiling. His face carries the exhaustion of someone who's been traveling for days already. Train to port, hours waiting, now this. You're all tired, bone tired. You choose an upper bunk near the corner. It feels slightly more private, though privacy is a generous word here. The mattress is perhaps 2 inches thick. You can feel the metal frame through it when you press down. But it's clean. That counts for something. The pillow is small and flat, stuffed with something that crinkles when you touch it. Not feathers, probably straw or horsehair. You set your suitcase on the bunk and sit beside it. Your feet dangle over the edge. The room holds maybe 10 people, though it's hard to count with everyone moving. A woman is making up a lower bunk with practiced efficiency, tucking corners tight. 2 children sit on another bunk, swinging their legs and whispering. Their mother hushes them gently in a language you don't recognize. Polish, maybe, or Hungarian. The third-class accommodations were actually considered quite modern for 1912. Each bunk had its own reading light, a small electric bulb on a flexible arm. Many passengers had never seen personal electric lighting before. It was a luxury disguised as basic necessity. You notice the walls are made of thin panels rather than solid metal. You can hear everything from the adjacent rooms. Footsteps, conversations, someone coughing, a baby fussing. The sounds layer over each other like a strange orchestra. Add to that the constant low rumble of the engines. It vibrates through every surface, through the bunk frame into your body. You'll feel it even when you're not touching anything. It becomes part of your heartbeat. Here's something historians still debate: whether third-class passengers were actually locked below decks. Some survivor testimonies claim gates were closed to keep steerage passengers away from first-class areas. Others insist the gates were only for immigration processing, to keep those who hadn't been inspected, yet separated from those who had. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Rules that weren't quite locks, but close enough. A young man enters the room, looks around, and takes the bunk below yours. He's thin, barely 20, with dark hair plastered to his forehead from sweat or seawater. His clothes are damp. He must have been on deck when spray came over the rail. He catches you looking and offers a tired smile. English, he asks. You nod or shake your head, whatever fits your story tonight. Either way, language is going to be interesting down here. The room contains half a dozen native tongues at least. You'll learn to communicate in gestures and broken phrases. Necessity teaches quickly. You open your suitcase to organize your belongings. Not much space for anything. No wardrobe, no drawers. There are hooks on the walls for coats. A narrow shelf at the end of each bunk. That's it. Whatever doesn't fit must stay in your suitcase, which will live under your bunk or serve as a footrest. The room smells like wool and soap and human warmth. Not unpleasant yet. Give it a few days in close quarters, and that might change. But for now, it just smells occupied, lived in. A woman enters carrying a basin of water. She's managed to find the washroom and bring back water for her family. Her children immediately rush to wash their faces and hands. The ritual of it is comforting. Even here, routines persist. You lie back on your bunk to test it. The mattress compresses almost completely under your weight. Your shoulder blades press against the hard surface beneath. This is going to require some getting used to. Above you, the metal ceiling shows ventilation grills. You can feel slight air movement from somewhere. The ship's designers knew that hundreds of people in tight spaces would need airflow. It's barely adequate, but it exists. You close your eyes for a moment. The engine vibration is oddly soothing once you stop fighting it. Like being rocked. Very, very slowly rocked by an enormous metal cradle. A steward appears in the doorway. He's young, maybe 18, wearing a white jacket that's already wilting from the heat down here. "Dinner's at 6, he announces in English, then repeats it in what sounds like German. He points vaguely toward where the dining room must be. Then he's gone, moving to the next room with the same message. You realize you're hungry. You haven't eaten since early morning. Whatever they're serving, you'll be grateful for it. The bunks around you are filling up. Every space claimed. A family of 4 is somehow fitting into 2 bunks, parents on the bottom, children on top. The logistics of sleep are going to be complicated. The man below you is organizing his belongings. You hear the clink of something metal. Tools, probably. Most of the men down here are tradesmen. Carpenters, masons, laborers, bringing skills to the new world. The women are often traveling to meet husbands who went ahead, or they're domestic workers seeking positions. Everyone has a plan. Everyone has imagined their arrival 1,000 times. An eccentric detail, some third-class cabins had wash basins in the rooms, but most didn't. The ones that did became intensely popular. Families would squeeze into 4-berth cabins meant for 2 just to have that basin. The intimacy of sharing washing space with strangers became normal very quickly. Modesty adapts. You sit up again and look around the room properly. These are your people for the next week. You'll learn their rhythms, their habits. Who snores? Who wakes early? Who cries in the night? Forced intimacy creates its own kind of family. Temporary, but intense. The light from the porthole. Yes, there's one small porthole. Is fading. Evening approaching. Your first night aboard will arrive soon. But first, dinner. The prospect of food and the dining room's relative spaciousness feels almost luxurious after this crowded berth. You can hear people in the corridor already moving toward the meal. The ship rocks gently. You're moving now. Really moving. Southampton is behind you. Cherbourg and Queenstown still ahead. Then nothing but Atlantic. You take a breath. The air is warm and close. But you're here. You made it aboard. The hardest part is over. Or so you think. The dining room surprises you. It's larger than you expected. Long wooden tables stretch the length of the space, bolted to the floor. Benches on either side, also fixed in place. Everything designed to stay put when the sea gets rough. The ceiling is higher here than in the sleeping quarters. You can breathe a little easier. White walls, of course. But someone has made an effort. Decorative molding runs along the top. Simple, but it's something. An acknowledgement that even steerage passengers deserve a touch of dignity. The room is filling quickly. Families claim sections of tables. Children scramble onto benches. The noise level rises as dozens of conversations overlap. You find a spot near the middle. The wooden bench is worn smooth by countless passengers before you. Across from you, a woman is settling 3 small children. She has that look of someone managing chaos through sheer determination. Her hands move constantly, adjusting a collar, wiping a face, pouring water from a pitcher into tin cups. The pitchers are already on the tables. Water and what looks like weak tea. You pour yourself some water. It tastes metallic, processed through the ship's systems. But it's cold and you're thirsty enough not to care. A man beside you nods in greeting. He's older, maybe 50, with hands that speak of decades of manual labor. First crossing, he asks in accented English. You nod. Me too, he says and laughs quietly. Stewards begin bringing food from the galley. Large pots of stew, carried between 2 men. Loaves of bread already sliced. Plates distributed with efficient speed. The White Star Line actually provided surprisingly generous portions for third class. 3 meals a day, which was more than many passengers ate at home. Basic but plentiful. Some immigrants gained weight during the crossing. Your plate arrives. Beef stew with carrots and potatoes in thick gravy. 2 slices of bread. A pat of butter. It's hot and it smells better than anything you've encountered in days of travel. You don't wait for ceremony. Around you, people are eating with similar urgency. The stew is simple but well-seasoned. The meat is tough, but there's plenty of it. The potatoes are soft, nearly dissolving in the gravy. You use the bread to sop up the sauce. No one judges. Everyone's doing the same. The woman across from you is cutting her children's meat into smaller pieces. The oldest, maybe 7, is already eating on his own. She manages her own meal in the spaces between tending them. Mothers develop that skill, eating in moments, in fractions. Here's something eccentric. The third-class dining room had a piano, a real upright piano, provided so passengers could have music during meals. On calm evenings, someone would play folk songs, hymns, popular tunes. The whole room would sometimes sing together. Different languages, same melodies. Music needs no translation. But that comes later. Tonight, everyone's too tired for singing. The conversations around you are subdued. People are still finding their footing. You notice the demographics of the room. Mostly families. Some single men, probably traveling for work. A few single women. Traveling alone was harder for them. Everyone dressed in their best-worn clothes. A child drops a spoon. The clatter echoes briefly before being absorbed by the general noise. His mother retrieves it, wipes it on her skirt, hands it back. No replacement spoon available down here. You work with what you have. The stew disappears quickly. A steward comes by with more bread. You take another slice. The butter is salted and spreadable, not the hard block you're used to at home. Tea is poured, stronger now than what was in the pitchers. Still not quality tea, but hot and sweet. Sugar is provided generously. You add 2 spoonfuls and stir. Historians still argue about the accuracy of third-class menus that have survived. Some claim the actual food served was inferior to what was listed. Others point out that surviving passengers generally praise the meals. The truth probably varied, good days and bad days, depending on supplies. But tonight, you're not complaining. The woman across from you is finally eating properly now that her children are occupied with bread and butter. She catches your eye and smiles tiredly. You smile back. Around the room, the mood is shifting slightly. Bellies filling, tensions easing. Someone laughs at the far end, a genuine, surprised laugh. It spreads a little, enough to remind everyone that this is also an adventure. The old man beside you has finished his meal. He sits back and sighs contentedly. Not bad, he says. You agree. After hours of cold trains and chaotic boarding, this moment of warm food feels almost luxurious. Dessert arrives, a surprise. Small portions of pudding, plain but sweet. The children's faces light up. You eat yours slowly, making it last. When a meal finally ends, people linger. No one's eager to return to the cramped sleeping quarters just yet. This room allows for breathing space. But eventually, the stewards begin clearing. Plates stacked with efficient clatter. The flow toward the exit begins. You stand and join it. The old man beside you moves stiffly, knees protesting. He catches himself on the table edge. Back into the corridors. The crowd thinner now, moving in different directions. Some toward the deck for evening air. Others toward the sleeping quarters. You're tired enough that your bunk sounds appealing despite its thinness. The ship rocks gently. You're getting used to the motion. By tomorrow, you probably won't even notice. Back in your cabin, some people are already in their bunks. Others are washing up, preparing for sleep. The routines of nighttime beginning. You climb up to your bunk. The mattress still feels thin, but you're tired enough not to care as much. You arrange your coat as an extra pillow. Pull the wool blanket up. It's scratchy but warm. The sounds of the room settle into evening rhythm. Whispered conversations. Someone praying quietly. Children being hushed. The ever-present engine hum. And beneath it all, the ocean. Just outside. Carrying you forward into the dark. This will be your routine now. Meals in the dining room. Time in the cramped cabin. The rhythm of communal living establishing itself. You'll learn everyone's patterns. Who snores? Who wakes early? Who hums while washing? Forced intimacy creates its own kind of family. The dining room will become your social center. 3 times a day, you'll gather there. See the same faces. Learn names eventually. Share news and rumors. This room will be where community forms, where strangers become familiar. But that's still ahead. Tonight, you're just adjusting, learning to sleep with the engine's constant throb, with voices and languages you don't understand, with the knowledge that you're in a metal tube floating on an ocean too deep to imagine. Your eyes grow heavy. The blanket holds your warmth. Someone below you shifts position, and the whole bunk frame creaks gently. You don't mind. It's almost comforting. Proof that you're not alone down here. Sleep comes easier than you expected. Morning comes too early. You wake to the sound of others already moving. The cabin is dim. No natural light reaches this far inside the ship. Only the small electric bulbs provide illumination. Someone has already been to the washroom. You can smell soap and damp towels. The routines of communal living are establishing themselves. You climb down from your bunk carefully. The floor is cold against your feet. You dig through your suitcase for clean clothes. Not that anything is truly clean anymore. Everything smells like travel, sweat, and coal smoke, and the particular mustiness of closed spaces. But you find a shirt that's less wrinkled than the others. That will do. You sit on your bunk to change. Privacy is a memory now. Everyone changes in front of everyone else. Modesty adapts to necessity. Men turn toward walls. Women drape shawls strategically. Children don't care at all. While you're organizing your belongings, you take stock of what you brought. What made the cut when you could only carry so much? Every item in your suitcase represents a decision, a calculation of weight versus worth, practical versus sentimental. Your spare clothes? Obviously. 2 shirts, an extra pair of trousers, or a second skirt. Undergarments. 1 pair of good shoes wrapped in paper to protect them. Those are for arriving in America. For making a good impression. A photograph in a thin frame. Family, most likely. The people you left behind, or the people waiting for you ahead. The frame is wrapped in a handkerchief to prevent breaking. You check it every day. Still intact. Here's a well-known fact. Many immigrants brought soil from their homeland. Literally, small bags or pouches of earth from their family farms or villages. Some planned to scatter it in America, mixing old world with new. Others simply wanted to carry something of home that couldn't be taken away at Ellis Island. The earth wouldn't judge them, wouldn't require papers. Tools, if you're a tradesman. A small set, nothing too heavy. Hammer, saw, chisels. Whatever defines your trade. These tools will feed you in America. They're more valuable than gold. You've wrapped them in oilcloth to prevent rust. The smell of machine oil mingles with everything else in your suitcase. A prayer book or Bible, most likely. Small enough to fit, but substantial enough to matter. The pages are thin, well-worn. You've read certain passages so many times the words are memorized. But having the physical book matters. Some things need weight. Letters of introduction, if you're lucky. A distant cousin's address in New York or Boston. Someone who immigrated years ago and wrote back saying there was work. The paper is creased for being folded and unfolded too many times. You're terrified of losing it. Without that address, America becomes much bigger and more frightening. Food, perhaps. Hard bread or cheese or dried sausage. Something that will keep. Some passengers don't trust ship food. Others simply want a taste of home to carry them across. You might have a piece of hard candy wrapped in wax paper. Sugar for difficult moments. Historians still debate how much luggage third-class passengers were actually allowed. Official policies said 1 bag, but enforcement varied. Some families managed to bring trunks. Others had everything confiscated at the dock if it exceeded limits. The inconsistency was maddening. Your neighbor in the lower bunk is unpacking something wrapped in layers of cloth. He unwraps it carefully, reverently. A violin. Not expensive, but clearly loved. The wood is scratched and the varnish worn where his fingers have held it for years. He doesn't play it now. Too early, too crowded. But he checks it, runs his hand along the neck, making sure the journey hasn't damaged it. Music is identity. You can carry that. The woman across the way has a small wooden box. She opens it briefly, and you catch a glimpse of ribbons and lace. Trimmings for sewing, probably. Or perhaps pieces of her wedding dress. Something decorative in a world of utility. She closes it quickly, protective. These small luxuries matter more because they're rare. An eccentric detail, some immigrants brought live animals in third class. Chickens in crates, occasionally a goat. The animals were kept in cargo areas, but passengers would visit them daily. These creatures represented future farms, future livelihoods. They were investments that ate and required water. But they were also connections to the life being left behind. Agricultural animals spoke a language these passengers understood. You have a small knife. Practical, sharp, used for everything from cutting bread to minor repairs. It lives in your pocket now. The weight of it is comforting. A tool is control, a way to solve problems. In an environment where you control almost nothing, the knife matters. You have one good handkerchief, not the one protecting the photograph, another one. White cotton with your initials embroidered in the corner. Someone who loved you made this. Mother or sister or sweetheart. You haven't used it yet. It's too nice. You're saving it for America, for the person you'll become there. Everything you don't have weighs more than what you do. The furniture sold to pay for passage. The house or room you'll never see again. The grandmother too old to travel who pressed coins into your hand and told you to be good. The friends who said they'd follow but probably won't. The graves you'll never visit again. The particular smell of your village after rain. All of it left behind. All of it carried anyway. Invisible luggage that weighs more than the physical suitcase. You close your belongings carefully. Make sure everything is secured. Theft is rare down here. Everyone has so little that stealing feels particularly cruel, but happens. You learn to be careful. A man near the door is carefully counting money. Small coins, mostly a few bills. He counts it 3 times, lips moving silently, then wraps it in cloth and tucks it deep into his inner pocket. The money has to last until work is found, until the first paycheck comes. Mathematics of survival. The cabin is emptying as people head to breakfast. You should go too, but you take one more moment with your suitcase open, looking at the sum total of your portable life. It seems impossibly small. Everything that matters, everything that defines you, reduced to what fits in a case you can barely lift. But millions have done this before you. Millions will do it after. This is the immigrant equation. Subtraction in service of addition. Loss in pursuit of gain. You close the suitcase. Slide it back under your bunk. Time for breakfast. Time to continue forward. The past is packed away. The future is waiting in the dining room, or somewhere beyond it, somewhere across all that dark water. Breakfast is porridge. Thick, gray, and surprisingly sweet. Served with milk and a sprinkling of sugar if you want it. You want it. The dining room has a different energy this morning, less subdued than last night. People are waking up to the reality of a voyage. The shock of departure is fading, and the children are discovering the ship. You notice them immediately. They're everywhere suddenly, running between tables despite mother's warnings, peering under benches, whispering in clusters. Children adapt faster than adults. Always have. Yesterday, they were overwhelmed and clingy. Today, they're explorers. The ship is their new playground. A boy, maybe 8, races past your table. His mother calls after him in Italian, sharp but resigned. He doesn't slow down. Another child follows, then another. A spontaneous pack forming. They disappear through the doorway into the corridor. Their laughter echoes back, high and bright against the low engine hum. After breakfast, you venture toward the deck. Fresh air feels necessary after a night in the closed cabin. On the third-class promenade, a modest open deck at the stern, you find more children. They've claimed this space as theirs. A game is in progress. You can't quite determine the rules. It involves running from one railing to the other, touching something, running back. They're speaking 3 or 4 different languages. None of it matters. Play has its own grammar. A girl with dark braids is teaching a younger boy some kind of clapping game. Her hands move in complex patterns. He's trying to follow, missing the rhythm. She laughs and starts over more slowly. Patience that adults rarely show each other. Here's a well-known fact. The Titanic carried 128 children in total across all classes. But the vast majority, over 100, were in third class. Working families traveling together. These children represented the future their parents were betting everything on. A makeshift ball game has started. Someone found a bundle of rags tied with string. It's being kicked back and forth. The ball is lopsided and barely bounces. Doesn't matter. A boy makes a particularly good kick, and the others cheer. Universal language of sport. You lean against the railing and watch. The ocean stretches endlessly, gray-blue and rolling. The wake streams behind the ship, white foam against dark water. The children don't seem to notice or care. They're not looking at the ocean. They're looking at each other, creating a world within this steel world. A mother emerges from below, calling for her daughter. The girl reluctantly leaves the clapping game, walks slowly toward her mother, looking back at her new friend. The other girl waves. Friendships formed in hours that feel like years. You notice an older girl, maybe 12, sitting alone near the deck house. She's watching the younger children play, too old to join without feeling silly, too young to be interesting to the adults. She's holding a small book, not reading it, just holding it, a tether to something familiar. Here's something historians still debate: whether third-class children were kept from certain areas of the ship. Some accounts suggest they roamed fairly freely during the day. Others claim gates and barriers confined them. The truth probably depended on the time of day and which crew member you encountered. An eccentric detail: the ship's baker would sometimes give leftover biscuits to third-class children who ventured near the galley. Not officially allowed, but bakers are often soft-hearted. These unofficial biscuit distributions became a kind of game. Which children were brave enough to approach? Which times of day the baker was most generous? A small underground economy of treats and daring. The ball game intensifies. Teams have formed naturally. Boys versus girls, roughly. Every score is contested. Arguments break out in multiple languages. Somehow, consensus is reached. Play continues. You watch a toddler escape from her mother's grasp. She runs toward the railing with reckless confidence. Her mother catches her easily, scoops her up. The girl protests, flailing tiny fists. She wants to see the ocean. The mother adjusts her hold and points at the waves. The girl settles, satisfied. Two small boys are building something in the corner. Pieces of wood and rope they've scavenged. They're constructing with serious focus. Engineers of refuse. Creating meaning from scraps. A teenage boy is teaching a younger one to tie knots. The rope passes through his fingers with practiced ease. The younger boy fumbles, tangles it. The teacher patiently undoes it. Starts again. Knowledge passing between generations. In this moment, on this deck, nationality doesn't matter. The Swedish child and the Syrian child are playing the same game. The Irish girl and the Polish girl are singing something together. The melody is uncertain, but the intent is clear. Children dismantle borders faster than adults build them. A crew member appears, one of the stewards. He watches the children for a moment, smiles slightly, then continues on his rounds, not enforcing anything, letting them play. The mothers congregate near one side of the deck, watching but not hovering, letting the children have this freedom. They're talking among themselves, trading information about the ship, about America, a network forming. Women always create these networks. The girl with the book finally opens it, starts reading, escaping into story. She turns pages slowly, savoring each one. Books are heavy in luggage. You only bring books you really need. The sun breaks through clouds briefly. The deck brightens. The children pause, faces turned upward, then immediately return to playing. Sunshine is nice, but play is urgent. You realize these children are living between worlds in the most literal sense. No longer in the old country. Not yet in the new one. Suspended in this metal space over deep water. And they're handling it better than most adults. They're making it an adventure. Creating joy from uncertainty. Building community from chaos. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe children understand something adults forget. That wherever you are becomes home if you decide it is. That strangers become friends if you simply start playing. That language is optional when laughter is shared. The rag ball goes over the railing, lost to the Atlantic. There's a moment of dismay. Then someone produces a different object, a wooden block, maybe. The game continues with barely a pause. Improvisation is survival. Children know this instinctively. A whistle sounds from somewhere below. Lunch soon, probably. The mothers begin gathering their children. reluctant departures from play, promises to return after eating. The deck empties gradually. You stay a moment longer, looking at the ocean, thinking about how quickly humans adapt. Yesterday, these children were terrified. Today, they're playing. Tomorrow, they'll probably know every corner of third class. And in a week, they'll walk off this ship into America. Still children, still playing, still making the incomprehensible comprehensible through the simple act of being young. You wake on the third morning to the sound of water sloshing. Someone is already washing clothes. The woman from across the cabin has a basin balanced on her knees. She's scrubbing a child's shirt against itself. Her hands are red from the cold water. It's barely dawn. The rhythm of her work is steady, practiced. This is what mornings look like for women down here. While men sleep a bit longer, women are already managing, already keeping the machinery of daily life functioning. You climb down from your bunk quietly. Try not to disturb others. The cabin is dim, but several women are already moving. Silent coordination. They've learned each other's routines quickly. Who needs the washroom first? Who has children to dress? Who can wait? In the corridor, you pass more women carrying basins. Wet laundry draped over arms. Children in tow, half awake and stumbling. The women's faces show the particular exhaustion of caretaking that never stops. Not even on a ship in the middle of the ocean. The communal washroom is busy. 3 women at the sinks. 2 more waiting. Everyone efficient, no wasted movement. Water is precious, not unlimited. You learn to wash quickly. Use less than you want. Make it count. A young woman is braiding her daughter's hair. Long, careful plaits. The girl stands patiently, eyes half closed. This ritual happens regardless of location, regardless of circumstance. Hair must be braided. Standards must be maintained. Here's a well-known fact. Third-class women were responsible for all their family's laundry during the voyage. No laundry service existed for steerage passengers. Women washed clothes in cold salt water when fresh water was scarce, hung them to dry in the cramped cabins or on deck if weather permitted. Salt never quite rinses out. Everything stayed slightly stiff, slightly uncomfortable, but clean was clean. Back in the dining room for breakfast, you notice the invisible labor more clearly now. Women are serving children before serving themselves, cutting bread into manageable pieces, wiping faces with dampened handkerchiefs, managing spills with calm efficiency. A woman 3 seats down is nursing an infant, shawl draped strategically for privacy. She eats one-handed, fork in right hand, baby in left arm. She's mastered this balance. Her older child is eating messily beside her. She wipes his mouth between her own bites, never stops moving. An older woman, grandmother probably, is distributing food to what must be her extended family. She knows exactly who needs what. More porridge for the growing boy. Extra milk for the pale girl who isn't eating enough. Less for herself. Always less for herself. The mathematics of scarcity. Historians still debate the actual conditions women faced in third class. Some accounts emphasize the relative modernity, flush toilets, running water. Others stress the overcrowding, the lack of privacy, the constant labor. Both are true. Modernity doesn't eliminate work. It just changes its form. After breakfast, you return to the deck. Women are hanging laundry on makeshift lines, stringing rope between railings, draping small garments over any available surface. Shirts and underclothes flapping in the wind. The deck becomes a public laundry. No shame in this. Everyone needs clean clothes. Everyone sees everyone else's washing. Intimacy is no longer optional. 2 women are sitting together, mending, needle and thread moving through fabric. They're talking quietly. You can't hear the language, but the tone is universal. The particular cadence of women sharing burdens, making them lighter through the act of speaking them aloud. An eccentric detail. Some third-class women brought their own feather pillows aboard. Heavy, bulky, completely impractical. But these pillows represented home, represented comfort. Some things are worth the wait. Women would trade information about which cabins had room for such luxuries, who had space to store them during the day. A pillow economy emerged. Soft goods as currency of comfort. A woman is teaching another how to say something in English. Slow repetition. The learner stumbles over the pronunciation. Tries again. The teacher is patient, encouraging. Language learning happens in these small exchanges. Women teaching women. Preparing each other for America. You notice how women have organized themselves into informal support networks. Those who speak English help those who don't. Those with older children help those with infants. Those who know about America share what little they've heard. Information flows through female channels. More reliable than official announcements. More detailed than crew members provide. A young bride, you can tell by her new wedding ring, still shiny, is being comforted by older women. She's homesick, missing her mother, afraid of what comes next. The older women surround her with practical kindness. Pat her shoulder. Offer her water. Tell her stories about their own immigration. How fear fades. How strength comes. This is women's work too. Emotional labor. Holding each other together. In the cabin during the afternoon quiet time, women are doing handwork. Embroidery, knitting, mending. Hands always busy. Always producing something useful. A woman is altering a dress for her daughter. The girl has grown since they packed. Or maybe the dress was bought too large intentionally. Room to grow into. Forward planning. Another is knitting something small, booties perhaps, for a baby not yet born. Or for trade. Knitted items have value. Can be exchanged for other necessities. You watch a mother dealing with a sick child. The girl is feverish, whimpering. The mother has dampened a cloth in precious cold water. Holds it to the child's forehead. Sings softly. There's no doctor for third class unless it's serious. Women manage illness with the remedies they know. Whispered recipes passed through generations. Herbs if anyone thought to bring them. Mostly just vigilance and hope. The woman across from you is writing a letter. Pencil moving slowly across paper. Writing to someone left behind, probably. Mother or sister. The letter won't be posted until New York. But writing it now makes the distance feel smaller. Makes a person feel closer. Women maintain connections. Keep families tethered across oceans. Evening comes, and women prepare for another night. Children washed and dressed for bed. Clothes organized for morning. Space is tidied as much as possible. The cabin must be managed. Must remain livable. This falls to women. You notice how women move through the ship differently than men. Always purposeful. Always carrying something or managing someone. Never idle. Never just standing and looking at the ocean. There's no time for that. A woman's crossing is a working crossing. The labor doesn't stop because you're on a ship. If anything, it intensifies. Everything is harder here. Washing is harder. Cooking is impossible, so feeding is managing what's provided. Childcare is harder with no private space. Sleep is harder with noise and crowding. But women manage. They always do. You watch the woman who is washing clothes at dawn. She's finally sitting down. Her hands rest in her lap. Still red from cold water. She looks exhausted, but her children are clean, fed, ready for tomorrow. She's done what needed doing, like women do, like they'll continue to do, all the way across the Atlantic, all the way into whatever comes next. Night is different on a ship, harder somehow. The daytime distractions fall away and you're left with the reality of where you are. A metal box floating on impossible depth. You lie in your bunk after dinner. The cabin is settling into evening rhythm. Whispered conversations fading. Children finally quiet after hours of resistance. Someone is snoring already, a deep, rattling sound that echoes off the metal walls. You try to find a comfortable position. The mattress has compressed further over the past few days. You can feel every ridge of the metal frame beneath you. Your hip bone presses against something hard. You shift. A little better. Not much. The engines are louder at night. Or maybe you just notice them more. That constant thrumming vibration. It comes up through the floor, through the bunk frame, into your bones. Your whole body vibrates with it. After a while, you can't tell if it's the ship shaking or you. The rhythm is hypnotic. Almost soothing. Almost. Through the thin walls, you hear everything from adjacent cabins. A baby crying. Always a baby crying somewhere. A couple arguing in whispered intensity. Polish, you think. Someone coughing, a wet, deep cough that goes on too long. A child asking for water. A mother's patient response. Footsteps in a corridor. The ship never fully sleeps. Here's a well-known fact. The Titanic's engines produced 46,000 horsepower. 3 massive propellers drove the ship forward at about 21 knots. The reciprocating engines were 4 stories tall. Their pistons alone weighed tons. All of that mechanical force was happening just below you, separated by a few decks and some steel plating. You could feel the power even if you couldn't see it. You close your eyes. Try to let the engine rhythm lull you. Instead, your mind goes to the water, just outside these walls. The Atlantic Ocean. You've heard it's more than 2 miles deep in places. 2 miles of black water beneath the ship, cold enough to kill in minutes. You push the thought away. Focus on something else. The sounds of people breathing around you. The old man in the bunk below shifts position. The frame creaks. You feel the movement transfer up to your level. Everything connected. Everyone affecting everyone else. Historians still debate what third-class passengers knew about the ship's navigation. Were they aware of the iceberg's warnings? Did they know the ship was traveling at near full speed despite the danger? Probably not. Information flowed downward slowly, if at all. You were told the ship was unsinkable. That was enough. Supposed to be enough. A woman across the cabin is praying quietly. You can hear the murmur of it. Not the words, just the rhythm. The cadence of appeal to something larger. It's comforting even if you don't share her faith. The act of prayer itself is soothing. Someone believes something is listening. Time moves strangely at night on the ship. You have no clock. No way to know if it's 10 o'clock or 2 in the morning. The darkness is constant. The engine sound never changes. You could be 5 minutes in a night or 5 hours. The disorientation is complete. Someone climbs down from an upper bunk, navigating in darkness. Heading to the washroom, probably. You hear careful footsteps, then the creak of the cabin door. Brief rectangle of dim corridor light. Then darkness again. An eccentric detail. Some third-class passengers claim they could tell the ship's speed by the engine vibration. Different speeds produce different frequencies. Experienced sailors could supposedly distinguish between 15 knots and 20 knots just by feel. They'd place a hand on the wall and read the ship's intentions through their palm. A kind of mechanical divination. Whether it was actually possible or just superstition, no one could say for certain. You become aware of the air. It's thick down here at night. Hundreds of people breathing in enclosed spaces. The ventilation does its best, but it's not enough. The air feels used, recycled through too many lungs. You try to breathe shallowly, but that makes you more aware of breathing, more conscious of each inhale. Better to just accept it. This is the air you have. A child whimpers in sleep. The sound is small and lost. Someone, mother, probably, makes a soothing sound. The whimpering stops. These tiny interventions happen all night. Constant small adjustments to keep the collective peace. You can hear the ocean now, or you think you can. A rushing sound beyond the engine throb. Water moving past the hull. Or maybe it's just the pipes. The ventilation system. Your imagination filling silence with meaning. Hard to tell what's real at night. Your thoughts drift to tomorrow. Another day of the same. Breakfast in the dining room. Time on deck if weather permits. Lunch. More waiting. Dinner. Then back here. The routine is both comforting and suffocating. You're suspended between departure and arrival. Between what was and what will be. Living in the eternal present of crossing. The man below you is snoring now too. A different rhythm than the other snorer. They're creating an unintentional duet. Almost musical. Almost unbearable. But you're learning to sleep through it. The human body adapts to anything if it must. You shift again. Try lying on your other side. The blanket has twisted around your legs. You extract yourself and arrange it properly. The wool is scratchy against your chin, but it's warm. That matters more than comfort. Someone is moving below. Restless sleep. The whole bunk structure trembles slightly with their movement. Everything connected. You can't move without affecting your neighbors. Can't sleep without being part of the collective sleep. Individual rest is impossible here. Only communal rest exists. The ship rocks slightly. The ocean is getting rougher. You feel the change in motion. A longer interval between rises and falls. Your stomach adjusts automatically. You've gotten your sea legs. The nausea of the first day is gone. Now you just move with emotion. Let it carry you. Another sound joins the night chorus. Someone is playing a harmonica very quietly, just barely audible. A slow, melancholy tune. Folk song from somewhere. The sound carries through the ventilation. Impossible to tell which cabin it's coming from. It plays for a few minutes, then stops. The silence after feels deeper. You finally feel sleep approaching. That heaviness in your limbs. The way thoughts start to lose their edges. Becoming dreamlike before actual dreams begin. The engines continue their endless song. The water rushes past. The metal walls hold back the impossible depth. And you drift, suspended in darkness. Surrounded by strangers who've become family. Carried forward into whatever morning brings. Trusting in steel and rivets. In engineering and design. In the promise that this massive ship knows what it's doing. That will carry you safely across. That you'll wake tomorrow to another day of waiting. Another day closer to America. Another day of this strange, suspended existence. Between worlds. Between lives. Floating on darkness. Dreaming of arrival. By the fourth day, you're noticing things you didn't see before. Patterns in how people arrange themselves. Who sits with whom in the dining room? Who avoids whom on deck? Even here, in the bottom of the ship, hierarchies exist. Subtle but real. You're eating breakfast when you notice it clearly for the first time. The Swedish families cluster at one end of the dining room. The Italians at another. Irish families have claimed the middle section. Not officially. No one assigned these territories. But everyone knows where they belong. Where they're welcome. A man tries to sit at the Swedish end. He's clearly not Swedish. His clothes, his bearing. Something marks him as different. The family's already seated. Don't say anything. Don't have to. Their silence is enough. He moves to another table. Finds his people. Settles in more comfortably. Here's something historians still debate. Whether ethnic tensions in third class were significant or exaggerated. Some survivor accounts mention friction between national groups. Others describe remarkable harmony. The truth is probably both. Depends on the day. Depends on the people. Stress brings out the best and worst in humans. You notice the single men occupy a different social space entirely. They're more mobile, less tied to specific territories. They move between groups more easily, seeking information, seeking advantage. A young man from your cabin has befriended one of the stewards. You see them talking in the corridor. The steward laughs at something, slips the passenger what might be an extra biscuit. Connections matter, even small ones. The families with more luggage carry more status. It's unspoken but visible. Those who could afford to bring more clearly had more to begin with. Resources create respect. Even here, where everyone is supposedly equal in poverty, a family has managed to secure a cabin to themselves. For berths, just their family. No strangers sharing their space. This is extraordinary luck, or extraordinary planning, or perhaps extraordinary payment. Other passengers regard them with a mixture of envy and respect. Privacy is the ultimate luxury down here. An eccentric detail. Some third-class passengers had paid extra for better third-class accommodations. Slightly larger cabins, closer to the dining room, marginally better locations. The price differences were small, a few pounds, but significant to people traveling on life savings. These microclasses within the class created subtle divisions. Those who paid more felt entitled to slightly better treatment. Those who paid standard rates resented the implication they were lesser. You notice how the stewards treat different passengers differently. Some get smiled at. Others get barely acknowledged. The ones who speak English get more attention, better information, quicker responses to requests. Language is power. Always has been. A well-dressed family, third class, but their clothes are newer, less worn, receives noticeably better service. The steward actually stops to explain the dinner menu to them. Takes time. The mother nods graciously. She's used to being treated well. Even here, she expects it and receives it. You watch an older woman being helped up the stairs by a steward. She's clearly struggling with the steep steps. The steward is patient, kind, takes her elbow, waits while she catches her breath. Age commands respect. Some hierarchies are universal. The children have their own social structure. You notice it on the deck. Certain kids are leaders, others followers. The older Swedish boy organizes the games. Everyone defers to him, not because he's mean, just because he has that quality, natural authority. Even children recognize it. A fight breaks out briefly between two boys. Different nationalities. You don't know what started it. Neither do most observers. But everyone immediately sorts themselves along ethnic lines. Swedish children back the Swedish boy. Italian children back the Italian. Adults intervene quickly. Separate them. Smooth it over. But the dividing lines were clear, instant and automatic. Tribal instincts don't disappear just because you're on a ship. The women have created their own subtle rankings. You see it in how they interact. Some women are consulted more than others. Ask for advice. Their opinions carry more weight. Usually the older ones, or those who've been to America before. Experience and age create authority. A young woman defers to an older one about washing techniques. The older woman demonstrates with quiet confidence. She knows. Others watch and learn. This is how knowledge transfers. Through informal hierarchies of respect. There's a man who everyone seems to avoid slightly. You can't figure out why at first. He's not obviously problematic. Doesn't smell worse than anyone else. Doesn't act aggressively. But people give him space. Don't sit next to him if other options exist. Maybe he did something early on. Said something. Violated some unspoken code. Or maybe it's nothing he did. Maybe he just has that quality that makes people uncomfortable. The group has marked him as outside. He sits alone mostly. Eats alone. Seems resigned to it. You notice the stewards have their own hierarchy too. Some are clearly senior. They give instructions to younger stewards. Get the easier tasks. The younger ones do the heavy lifting. Carry the food. Clean the spills. Even in service, ranks exist. A senior steward is explaining something to a junior one. His tone is patient but superior. The younger man listens with deference. Takes mental notes. Learning his place. Here's a well-known fact. Third-class stewards earned about £3 per month. Far less than first-class stewards. The pay reflected the class they served. Even the servants were ranked by their master's status. A steward serving millionaires earned more than one serving immigrants. The logic was cruel but consistent. You're learning to navigate these invisible structures, where you can sit comfortably, which conversations you can join, which spaces welcome you, which merely tolerate your presence. It's exhausting in its way. You thought leaving the old country meant leaving behind these rigid social structures. But humans carry hierarchy with them, create it wherever they go. Even crossing the ocean doesn't erase it. A bell rings, lunch soon. People begin moving toward the dining room. The flow of traffic has its own patterns. Certain groups move together, claim their usual tables. You find yourself falling into the routine, sitting in roughly the same spot you sat yesterday and the day before. Comfort in consistency, even arbitrary consistency. The dining room fills in its familiar pattern. Swedish end, Italian end, Irish middle. Single men scattered throughout. Families in their clusters. Everyone knowing their place without being told. The unofficial becomes official through repetition. Tradition can be created in days. You eat your lunch, soup today with bread. Around you, the separate worlds of third class coexist. Overlapping but distinct. Connected but divided. All of you traveling to the same destination. All of you in the same boat, literally. But still finding ways to create difference. To establish order. To know where you stand. Because not knowing is worse than being low. Hierarchy is orientation. Even oppressive hierarchy tells you where you are. Gives you a map. The alternative is chaos. And humans fear chaos more than they fear their place in the order. Even when that place is near the bottom. It's evening on the 5th day. You're lying in your bunk earlier than usual. Not quite ready to sleep, but tired of sitting. Tired of the dining room. Tired of the deck. Just tired. The crossing is wearing on everyone. The initial excitement has faded. The anxiety about arrival hasn't begun yet. You're in the middle place. The waiting space. Around you, the cabin is settling into its nightly routine. But tonight feels different somehow. Quieter, more contemplative. People are lost in their own thoughts. The woman across the way is writing another letter. She's been writing every evening, page after page, telling someone everything, every detail of this crossing, as if documenting it makes it more real, more manageable. You wonder what she's writing about tonight, whether she's describing the engine sound, the taste of the soup, or whether she's writing about the future, the America she's imagining, the life she hopes to build, dreams put to paper, made concrete through ink. Here's a well-known fact. Third-class passengers carried an estimated 80% of the immigrant dreams aboard the Titanic. The ship transported millionaires and businessmen, yes, but the real cargo was hope. Hundreds of people who'd sold everything, said goodbye to everyone, crossed an ocean on faith. Faith that America was what they'd been told, that opportunity existed, that hard work mattered, that the future could be different than the past. The old man in the bunk below you is talking quietly. You can hear him through the thin mattress. He's speaking to someone, another passenger, probably. His voice carries that particular tone of memory. He's telling a story about his village. Something about a harvest festival, a girl he almost married, the life he's leaving behind. His voice cracks slightly, then steadies, continues. Everyone has these stories, these ghosts they're carrying. You think about your own reasons for being here, whatever they are. Economic necessity, probably. No future in the old country. Opportunities shrinking. Or maybe you were running from something. The reasons people leave are as varied as the people themselves. But they all add up to the same thing. The belief that somewhere else must be better. A young couple in the corner is whispering together. Newlyweds, clearly, planning their American life in hushed tones. Where they'll live, what work he'll find, how many children they'll have. Building a future out of words and wishes. It's beautiful in its way. The confidence of it. The certainty that wanting something is halfway to having it. Historians still debate what percentage of third-class immigrants achieve their dreams. Some statistics suggest success rates were high. Most found work, built lives. Others point out the exploitation, the discrimination. How many spent years in tenements? The truth is probably that dreams are complicated things. Success isn't binary. You can achieve what you wanted and still feel the loss. An eccentric detail, some third-class passengers brought seeds with them. Garden seeds from their homeland. Tomatoes, herbs, flowers. They planned to plant them in America, grow the vegetables they knew. These tiny seeds represented continuity, a bridge between identities. You'll be American, yes, but you'll eat your grandmother's tomatoes. A mother is singing to her children, very softly, a lullaby in a language you don't recognize. The melody is simple and repetitive, soothing. The children are settling under it. That song has probably been sung in her family for generations. Now, being sung on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic, being carried to America. The song will continue there, will be sung to American grandchildren. Some things survive translation. You close your eyes. Let the ship's motion rock you gently. The engine throb has become almost comforting now. You don't notice it anymore unless you specifically listen for it. It's just part of the background. Like breathing, like heartbeat. You think about arrival. New York Harbor, the Statue of Liberty that everyone talks about. Ellis Island processing, the moment of acceptance or rejection. Because not everyone makes it through. Some are sent back, deemed unfit. All this way only to be turned around. It's a terror that lives in the back of everyone's mind. Unspoken, but present. But most people make it through. The odds are in your favor. You'll probably walk off this ship, through the immigration process, into America. And then what? That's the real question. The plans you've made are necessarily vague. You'll find work. Somewhere. Doing something. You'll find a place to live. Eventually, you'll learn better English. Over time, the details will work themselves out. They have to, because there's no alternative plan. No backup. This is it. Forward is the only direction available. Someone is praying again. Different person than usual. Different language. But the tone is the same. That particular cadence of petition. Asking for something. Try to negotiate with fate. You understand the impulse, even if you're not praying yourself. The need to feel like someone's listening. Like this enormous risk you're taking is being witnessed. The cabin is mostly dark now, just a few personal bulbs still lit. Small pools of light in the darkness. People reading, writing, sitting with their thoughts. The collective is still awake, but turning inward. Private moments in public space. You think about everyone on this ship. Hundreds of people in third class alone. Each one carrying dreams, plans, fears, hopes so large they had to cross an ocean to contain them. The Swedish farmer hoping for land of his own. The Italian stonemason who heard America needed builders. The Irish girl escaping hunger. The Jewish family fleeing pogroms. The Syrian merchant seeking new markets. Everyone running towards something or away from something. Usually both. All of these individual stories happening simultaneously. Stacked in bunks. Pressed together in dining rooms. Sharing air and space in this particular moment in time. It's overwhelming when you think about it. The sheer accumulation of human hope in one place. This ship is carrying more than people. It's carrying futures. Plural and uncountable. The letter-writing woman has finally stopped. She's folding the pages carefully. Addressing an envelope. The letter will sit in her belongings until New York. Then she'll post it. Send news backward while moving forward. You feel sleep coming now. Real sleep this time. Your body is learning to rest here. In this thin bunk. With these sounds, this motion, humans adapt. It's our greatest skill. We make homes in impossible places. Find comfort in discomfort. Create normal from extraordinary. The engines continue their eternal song. The water rushes past. The darkness outside is complete. No lights except the stars. No land for hundreds of miles in any direction. Just this ship, this small bubble of humanity, moving steadily forward, carrying all these dreams toward morning, toward America, toward whatever comes next. You drift now, letting go of the day, suspended between what was and what will be, carried by steel and steam and the collective hope of hundreds. The ship rocks gently in the Atlantic's vast, dark hand, and you sleep. Finally, deeply, dreams come, of course they do. Dreams of land, of solid ground beneath your feet again, of doors opening wide to welcome you, of voices saying, yes, come in, you belong here, of building something that lasts, of maturing in ways you couldn't before. Simple dreams, really, human dreams, the kind worth crossing an ocean for, the kind worth everything. The dreams that traveled in third class were as varied as the passengers themselves. But they all shared one quality. They were large enough to require courage, bold enough to demand sacrifice, powerful enough to carry people across the world toward possibility. And tonight, as the Titanic cuts through the dark Atlantic water, those dreams rest, gathering strength for whatever morning brings, for whatever America holds, for the next chapter of these lives being written in real time, in third class, in the bottom of an enormous ship, surrounded by strangers who've become family, carried forward by hope and engineering and the fundamental human belief that tomorrow can be different, that new places hold new possibilities, that the future is worth the risk. Sweet dreams.